Hey guys, project Carport here in front of Heiko's garage is continuing. We just did the first concrete pour. All the footings are filled to a certain level with concrete now, and now we can go ahead and measure the height of all the steel posts that will then eventually support the carport / my sun deck that's going to go on top of it. I'll just show you around what we did here. I have a little bit of footage of one footing being poured with concrete. And it's just a big truck, you know, the rear discharge concrete truck with 2-3 pieces of chute on it. And it was so easy. The job was done within like 20 minutes. Yeah, it was really pleasant. So let me show you real quick. Today we're getting the concrete delivered for the footings of my new carport. Big old truck. Much easier than mixing that whole stuff with a mixer out of bags. So yeah, here's one footing. As you can see, there's still rebar sticking out. So this is about 18 inches below grade. So grade is here, 18 inches below that. Now we're going to stand up concrete posts. Most of them are 6-inch round steel posts, and the steel contractor that I'm working with, he's going to weld on plates with holes, and so we're going to drill and anchor those posts into the concrete here, and we're going to do that pretty much with all those posts. So on some here you can still see I had little stakes sticking out to indicate oh, here we go. Yeah, that little hump there, that's the grade stake. That is 18 inches below grade. So then the finished product is going to be the steel post, and the plate at the bottom is going to be embedded in 18 inches of concrete. And yeah, now we pretty much only have to measure from that to finished deck height. So where my sun deck is going to be up there, I want that to be level with finished floor in my house. So yeah, all filled, all done. Now I just have to wait a couple hours and then float this a little bit just to make sure we have a flat surface to bolt to. And next step is going to be some concrete posts. And then I hope my carport here is going to be done soon, so we can go back and work on some other projects. I mean, I have a motorcycle to restore, I have a boat engine, my bus needs some attention. And you guys don't just want to see projects here involving renovation and additions to my house. I eventually want to get back to regular scheduled programming here. So guys, this is what the project looks so far. All the steel posts that will hold up my carport / my new sun deck here are up. After the first pour, I just flatten out the surface of the concrete slab so that the steel contractor could bolt down the steel posts. Of course, we did the layout, you know, gave him a X marks the spot where the post needs to go. They bolted them all down. There's still rebar for the second pour. These are the forms. I kind of marked the orange lines up to which level we want to pour the concrete. The box is just going to give it a finished look. It's not just filling up a ragged hole, but you're filling up a more or less square hole.
and the rebar is going to tie it all nicely together. I'm vacuuming right now the surface of the concrete so that the next pour has something to grab hold of and not just dirt. You can see there's lots of wood shavings in here. So we're going to clean this all up, and in a little while the concrete truck is going to show up, and we're going to fill these here to grade and finish them off. So the ones in the driveway are really simple. Up here I did a little bit more. I put some forming around it so that this concrete footing doesn't get too large and my wife loses her flower bed here altogether. So once the forms are gone, I can backfill this with flower dirt and make my wife happy. But yeah, the first layer of concrete needs to be super clean so that the second pour can kind of adhere to it and grab hold of it. So that's so far as we have gotten. All right, guys, so this is how we left off with the concrete truck. We filled all those footings completely up. They are relatively smooth at the surface. I mean, I'm not a concrete guy. I had some tools, you know, like an edging trowel and a, what is it called? A pool trowel. Got it all smooth. It's not a concrete floor, so I'm not too worried about it. It's just a footing in a flower bed, right? And the other ones, they also turned out pretty well. So this is here all the flower bed. Now we're at the bottom of the retaining wall. That's the one we just looked at. Most importantly, my forms held up. My self-built forms, built out of some 2x4s and 2x3s. They held up against the pressure and the weight. And then here are 3 footings that are in asphalt. All turned out pretty well. I think my DIYer amateur troweling turned out all right, and it's not going to bug me at all. I'm going to be the one using this carport and working under the carport and parking my cars under this carport. And then there are 2 more footings up here. So this is how this all turned out. Was a lot of work, and now the next step is going to be putting steel beams across those posts, one over there, the next one from this one all the way straight over to that post there, that one, and then the last one is here. So this is spanning to that one there. This is 29 feet, that one is over 30 feet, and then the one right along the house is 33 or 34 feet, and freestanding, so to speak. There's no further support here in the middle, so this is going to be a wide open carport. The only interference with space was that one, but I think that's a pretty decent compromise, and I will make sure to keep making little time lapses and adding them onto this video here. All right, let's see what happens next. Hey guys, quick little update here on my carport project. So the steel guys, the company that I hired to install those beams in the post, I mean, I did the concrete, they did the welding. We had a crane here in the driveway swinging them around. Unfortunately, I couldn't film that because the contractor wasn't comfortable with me filming them while they were working with a crane. Anyways, so in the meantime, they have welded on all the joist hangers, as you can see, on all rows here. I then ended up putting a flat bar stock, 8-inch thick, kind of as a spacer up on here to make the top flange of the hanger and this surface kind of the same height. So when I put the decking on here later, it's not going to be tipping or wobbling. And so one strip in the middle, and then here on this side where I have this little step in, I did a second row. Same here on this beam. There's also
a strip of 8-inch thick steel installed or welded on. I did that myself. This is not structural, so only the structural stuff had to be welded by a certified welder. I am not one, so I couldn't do it myself. Yeah, and then I primed the whole thing. All the bare metal surfaces got a layer of gray primer. And then just today I started actually spray painting this whole thing. This color looks a little brownish, grayish, brownish. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Sirens everywhere. The color is actually Massey Ferguson tractor paint. I'm using Rust-Oleum paint for this job. Here, let me show you. So here's the paint. It's Rust-Oleum Massey Ferguson gray. And this is farm implement paint by Rust-Oleum. And I'm using reducer by Magic and catalyst hardener also by Magic. And I verified first that this is actually mixable. And then I'm using a low volume, low pressure spray gun here with this Harbor Freight cup system that goes on here. Works really well. I dialed down the spray pad on a little bit so I have more control over overspray. Of course, I'm using respirator specifically for organic vapors and all that stuff. So for spray painting, I don't have much spray painting experience, but it seems to be working really well. And the first beam here, yeah, it's not a Rolls-Royce paint job for sure, but I think I covered everything. I decided to also sprayed the hangers, at least the outside surfaces. So once the joists are in there, you cannot see galvanized steel anymore. Before I did that, we washed down the galvanized surfaces with vinegar, and the vinegar kind of etches the galvanized surface so the paint actually sticks to it. And yeah, looks pretty good. And the posts are all, I mean, this one is the first one. The other ones I still have to do. So there's still a lot of painting to come. Just thought I'd give you a quick little update. And then sooner or later, once this is all painted and hardened, then I'm gonna put up the floor joists. And here's all the joists already ready to go. The outside ones, on the edge of the structure, is going to be LVLs, the top layer there. And then the rest is dimensional lumber, 2x10s. And then my decking also has already arrived. It's Trex decking in color, I don't even know. What was it called? Wow. Oh, Rocky Harbor. Rocky Harbor. This is what the surface looks like. This is from underneath. And I'm also installing a system called Rain Escape by Trex, which is a waterproofing system that goes under the decking material. But I will definitely try to film that when I install it. I mean, I'm not an expert, and I'm going to go and figure it out as I go, but I will definitely show you a little bit of this. Okay? All right, so that's the update for today. All right, so latest update. I was able to finish the spray painting this morning, this inner beam here and the posts. They have all gotten a coat of Massey Ferguson gray tractor and implement paint with a reducer and hardener. And then on this side we already started running the floor joists. Turns out that my lumber that I had sitting here for 2 weeks already developed some mold, but I don't think that's really a big problem. And yeah, so we're almost done with the first side here, the first field, and then tomorrow we're gonna run all those. And then I will have my steel contractor come back and do a little bit more welding. They're going to weld posts for the railing here on the beams and come up with brackets to mount posts for railing here in the center. And yeah, and then it's slowly getting there. And then once we start doing the Trex rain escape and the decking, I will definitely make sure I run some time lapses for you guys so you guys can see at least what's going on. Like I said, I'm not a contractor. I'm only doing this, self-education, and then asking friends that I have that are contractors for their advice and telling me how to do it. They also help me out with tools. I have a Tico nailer for nailing into brackets here so I don't have to nail those by hand. That really helped. And then a couple of weeks ago, I bought myself a skill saw, a Mag 77. That definitely also paid off because my other little circular saw would definitely have had a hard time cutting those 2x10s. We also made sure that I get them all flush mounted, so they are all even with the surface here of those brackets, so that once we put the decking on it, you can see the steel beam isn't straight, it's curved. But unfortunately those beams come like this from the factory. And even the middle one here, this is the biggest one, even that one has a slight curve to it. But you know, once it's done, nobody's going to see that anymore, and I'm not going to worry about it too much. So that's that, and I will continue tomorrow morning. So guys, here's a little update. So I managed to finish up all the floor joist installation, and now I'm working on figuring out how tall of a blocking I can put into the pockets in between the floor joists. In the drawings originally they just put in 2x10, which is total overkill for blocking. And then also we're going to have a rain escape system, Trex rain escape, sitting here. Here is the end of that rain escape system, which is kind of like a little funnel or a downspout. And as you can see here, this is a cutout. Here in this field in between, there's going to be a plastic material that's going to shape into a trough that slowly slopes from the house away into this little downspout. And the red line here, that's just my string line hanging there, symbolizes or shows the angle at which this trough descends from the high point to the low point. And here is roughly as high as I can make the blocking, so that this trough doesn't sit on the blocking and then ultimately creates a puddle here. So this is going to be as high as the blocking can be. So I measured from here to the underside here, and that's about 6 inches. So I can do a 2x6, which is 5.5 inches actual dimensions, and I will have enough space with this trough running down here. I didn't see that in any of those Trex Rain Escape installation videos. Nobody talks about it, that blocking that you might have to put into your structure. The length of those floor joists is about 12 feet. My engineer wants me to put blocking in there, and that's very a common construction practice, to put blocking in there, because it takes the wobble out of the whole structure. And nobody talks about that, because if I would have put a 2x10 blocking in here, the trough wouldn't be able to slope down from beginning to end. I thought that was interesting, something that I had to visualize, figure out, and think about a little bit. And this is what I'm going to do. Hey guys, just wanted to give you another piece of an update of my deck project here. Before I actually finish this, completely forgot about to take some video footage of it. So you guys know all the previous steps here with steel beams and steel posts. This here is now a fascia board that kind of roughly matches the color of the spray painted metal. That was kind of the intent. The railings, I don't know if they were installed when I did the previous update, if they were already there. These are welded on in most places, so wherever there is a steel beam running, they're welded on at the bottom. And here in between, those are with steel brackets onto, there are two sandwiched 2x10s, they are sandwiched together. And then I added another 2x4 on the outside just to have more surface area to do this picture frame of the decking here. So picture frame around it, and then filling the inside. The black stuff that you see here, that is the Trex Rain Escape material. This is butyl tape. There's also some butyl caulk under this black stuff between the 2x10s and the black stuff, and then stapled on, and on the top is butyl tape, which is really sticky and stays sticky, doesn't harden. this has already been exposed to the weather for a couple of weeks because I can only work on this deck here when I'm off of my day job. So it's been a slow process. Even this year, this doesn't look like much, but this is, yeah, I would say 350 square feet of decking so far. And I've already burned through almost 1,300 screws just to attach them, those boards. Yeah, so rain escape at each end here of each run. So you're shaping this into a trough that gets deeper and deeper, so it has a slope towards a little funnel here at the end. They're pretty good installation videos of that material. So I pretty much just watched their videos and looked at the installation material, well, instructions that they gave me. Pretty expensive, but what it creates is you have a regular, normal, non-sloped, so this is perfectly level, a level deck. So you don't have to build this deck with a slope to drain off water. So you can build a deck that is not waterproof, so rainwater and melting snow and whatnot goes through the gaps of those boards and then finds its way into those troughs. They are not all perfect. In the videos that they make, it always looks perfect that those troughs are all straight and no wrinkles and whatnot, but I've noticed just because of heat expansion and contraction, when it gets hot here it starts wrinkling, and when it cools down the wrinkles go away. I think it's not a big deal, because even if there is maybe a spot or two where a little bit of water stays, evaporates pretty quickly. So most of the water, let's say 90% of the water, will rain through the deck boards and run off, and then the little bit of a little puddle here and there, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. And then ultimately, once the deck boards are on, primarily the stuff is covered. It's protected from UV ray. You only have those little gaps in between. And they say that they give you a 25-year warranty on this, and it's supposedly all UV resistant. So this should all last very long. Like I said, this has already been exposed for a couple of weeks now. Here in a couple spots, you can see I have white lines on there. This is where I again doubled up the 2x10, so I bolted on a 2x4 against the 2x10 to make it wider. And those are the spots where I create all my butt joints, where two boards get bolted down. Here's another one. And as you can see, this is not one rectangular shape. It has a step in there. So yeah, it was quite a tricky endeavor here to kind of make this line up from when I started over here and worked my way this way, so that this last board here would actually line up with a picture frame. It's not perfect. It's not 100%. We're talking about a 16th. I had to squeeze the gaps in between the boards here a little bit to make this happen. And then you can also see that I have different screws here. These are actually self-threading threading screws that go into the steel beam. Here's a steel beam right under here. So I pre-drill. I'm using 1/4" 20 screws. These here, they are not self-tappers, but they will thread. So you just have to pre-drill it with the appropriate drill bit size. I think it's, what is it? 7/32 maybe? Yeah, I'm using a 7/32. I think this is a little larger than, so I think it's a 13/64 that you're supposed to use for a 1/4" 20. I went up one step higher because they would just not go in here. The steel beam under here is like 1/4" or 3/8 so this is quite a chunk of steel, and the screws would just not go in with my normal impact driver. And so I drilled one step larger, 7/32, and now it threads in nicely. And if I ever get problems with those screws, these are screws used for trailer decking. If they start rusting, I can pull them out and put stainless steel hardware in and put a nut from underneath. So underneath it's all visible where those screws come through. Here on the outside edge, I was actually pretty lucky that all the holes that I drilled them on the inside of the beam. So from the outside, you can't see those ends. And so far, it's been sitting flat. If I ever get problems that the boards start warping or want to come up or whatever, I could add another row on the outside, which you then would be able to see from here. But I would probably then just buy stainless steel hardware, chop them off short enough, and then put like an acorn nut on it. But yeah, this is the decking here so far. This is just the cheapest
Trex brand decking that I could buy. They have different price levels. This is the cheapest one. It's called Rocky Harbor, I think is the color. And so far so good. And as you can see, I'm not using the hidden fastener stuff. I'm going right through the deck here. I figured, I've seen decks where the hidden fastener with that metal bracket in there, where that spreads apart and then eventually slips off, and the gaps are not very even. If I go through the board, they are secured, they are tight, and it doesn't really look all that terrible. The screws are already colored. They are in kind of a gray color. And what else? Oh yeah, I made spacers. Since I have a 3D printer, I printed some spacers that go in here. So I can put them in here while I'm installing that, to make sure that the spacers are even. Trex has in their installation instruction, they give recommendations on how wide to make those gaps. Here towards the end, I had to fudge it a little bit, make it a little tighter, just so that everything would line up. But yeah, so I'm almost halfway there. There's going to be a second row here on the steel beam with those black screws, and then we're back to putting the boards onto the normal floor joists here. The advantage of putting the wood screws through this butyl tape into the wood, that the butyl tape, since it's gooey gummy, it's kind of self-healing, so it will pretty much stay waterproof. Here on the outside, you can still see this whole chunk here is 2 2x10s plus a 2x4 plus now the fascia board. So this chunk I created so that I can put this picture frame here, or this border around it, all the way around. The problem was that I had to cut out all those little notches. Here I actually did individual pieces, so there's always a cut, next piece, cut, next piece. That way I could literally wrap the board around the fence post or the railing post. Here I didn't do that because the railing post would always be right at the end. So this all worked out really well, and I'm going to continue this all the way over to the house. And then there's probably going to be one last update that I will show you guys, is when I get to the house wall, because there is a little bit of some flashing that they provide that I will try to install there. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. And hope you guys like it. Hope you get something out of it. Maybe you will come across a project like this, and then, you know, this is all, of course, all experimentation. I'm not following anyone's instruction besides Trex technical instructions. I just made up my own mind what I wanted to do all the way around, and how I want to attach that to a steel beam, and you know, how I put some 1/8 inch steel, flat steel on here to make it all flat and even, so that there are no big, you know, steps in the surface here. But yeah, this is what it's going to look like. And I would say a few more days and I'm going to be at the house wall, and then I'll take a long rest before I start the next project. Alrighty guys, that's it. Hey guys, last little update. Last 2 rows of decking. I just installed a self-adhesive flashing onto the wall, onto the deck. 2 more rows of decking. And then over top of that, I will put a metal flashing that, let me demonstrate. So the last 2 rows. The decking is quite far away from the wall, but I will have a sheet metal shop bend me a flashing that goes from here down and then over onto the decking, just so that it's a finished look. And yeah, so then my almost 800 square foot deck here is done. Still a couple finishing touches. So here in the corners where I have those cutouts, I will puzzle in a couple little pieces. I've already started that yesterday here and here as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty bright out here. So yeah, flashing all dry into the wall, and then the metal flashing will cover up the self-adhesive stuff. So when that ages over time,
It's going to be held on just by some screws that go into the studs, or actually it should go into the rim joist at this level, I think. So just a few screws through sheet metal into this stuff, into the wall. And that's going to be a permanent finish for this project.